everybody, I'm Mary Carrillo, and you're Inside Tennis with the Kaz, the legend.
So let's get it launched with the Miami Open at the Hard Rock Stadium. Oh, what a windfall this is to run into Butch Buchholz. Those who go back knew the guy as one of the handsome eight. Boy, your head was big at that time, and it's even bigger today when I mentioned that to you. Butch, you put it all together, the Lipton. And I remember early on, I said, Butch, will it ever change from the name Lipton? And it did.
Yes.
Tell us the changes that have taken place from Lipton to now.
Well, we've had a lot of changes. One, we've had the first 3 years, we had 3 different locations. We started in Delray, went to Boca, and then went to Key Biscayne, which we had thought was going to be permanent. Lipton was a long-time sponsor, 15 years. That's a long time for a sponsor. And personnel changes, things change, and we were fortunate. We were able to get Ericsson, and then we had NASDAQ, and then we had Sony.
Sony was involved there?
And Sony Ericsson. So I think the tournament's been, really well represented with great companies.
How exciting is to see this unique venue, a stadium inside of a stadium. Can you explain that?
I had a hard time understanding it until I saw it. And I think they've done a wonderful job. This is a major upgrade from what we had at Key Biscayne. I think, the Miami Open is back on top again. It really is. And Steve Ross has done a great job, the Dolphin people, and a lot of the people that were with us for 30 years are still here, which is great. And I just think it's a great site, and it's good for tennis.
Ben, there isn't a thing that you can't describe. So I'm going to ask you, describe this. How tough is this to describe and do it justice?
Think of Arthur Ashe Stadium being the biggest building in tennis, but this NFL stadium really puts that in context, and you see sort of how small the tennis footprint usually is when it's put on this enormous of a foundation here in football. And it's in a very interesting, very innovative way of keeping, of building off existing infrastructure to make tennis viable here.
Did you ever think you would see tennis played inside of a major football stadium?
No, it's the first time in my life that I've actually seen a stadium within a stadium for tennis, and I think it's really interesting because it almost has an indoor feel. The sound of the ball is a little muffled, and also the shade is really, most of the court is shaded, and for the fans, that's a beautiful thing, because you know how it is on Key Biscayne. It's paradise, but you can get hammered by the sun, so they did a really good job with the stadium, I thought. I would say to people, don't get overwhelmed by the size of the stadium, because the outer courts and the grandstand are so intimate, where if you like to be close to the action, they sort of give you the best of both worlds. So they give you the intimacy of the outer courts and the grandstand, and then if you want the spectacle of the big stage, you have it here. Although this stadium isn't as huge as Arthur Ashe at the Open, I think that's a good idea that they did that. I think, to me, that's too massive. So I think they got it right as far as the size.
The new venue is very impressive, but it's very different than Key Biscayne. At first, me and everybody, all the other reporters, we're having trouble adapting to it and finding all the courts, but each day it grows on us. It gets better and better each day, and I think this tournament is going to be better than the Key Biscayne location. The stadium, I think, is awesome. It's one of the most amazing stadiums to see in tennis. It's even more impressive than Ashe Stadium in a way. A stadium within a stadium, I don't think has ever been done before in tennis anywhere. And I remember seeing Federer here, the first practice he had, and between balls and points, he was looking around. He was like looking around, checking out the stadium. He was in awe of it. But it's Miami Open is one of the best tournaments of the year, and I think it's a better location. They're getting bigger crowds here. It's more accessible to get to than Key Biscayne.
This is a tremendous site, Kaz. What they've done here for IMG and Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins and Hard Rock Stadium, and the tournament is absolutely fantastic. And let me mention this. Think back 3 years ago, if you had said to me, Jim, the Miami Open is going to be played at Hard Rock Stadium, and Naomi Osaka, who's growing up in Pembroke Pines, 5 miles north of here, and doesn't play junior tournaments hardly at all, is going to be #1 in the world, I would have said, Kaz, I think you need a break, or maybe you need to go visit your psychiatrist. You can't make this stuff up, and yet it's all true. I think it's been a great move from Key Biscayne. What's better here is for the fans in terms of getting here is so much easier for access and for parking. It's right off the Florida Turnpike, and it's easy access from other areas. A lot, not just 1-2 lane road that you're going down and you get on a bus and then you have to sit in more traffic. You just drive right up and you're here. If you sit and think about it for a second, this is going to be the site of next year's Super Bowl. This is the home of the Miami Hurricanes, the Miami Dolphins. It's the home of the Orange Bowl. And about 3 weeks from now, the Rolling Stones are going to have a concert here. So this is an event place. That's what Stephen Ross, the owner, was looking for, was more events. And when he realized that the Miami Open might move, and who knows, we might have lost it to Hong Kong, Dubai, or whatever, he kept it in the state of Florida, which is great.
It's really exciting, and I love all the opportunities, the possibilities we have, and I love the fact that it's more than, in my opinion, more than just a tennis tournament. We've got an unbelievable entertainment experience in the courtyard. We've got different neighborhoods. We got Kiki's on the river, and live music a lot of times, DJs, and just a lot of different pockets of entertainment. We've got art out there, so you can really help the casual tennis fan just as much as you can the diehard tennis fans that get to see the greatest tennis in the world.
I'm really proud of him. I think he's making the transition out of being a player, and he's taking it seriously. He looks a little stressed right now with all of the rain, but I think he's doing a good job so far, and everybody I've spoken to here seems to like the new venue.
I think it's interesting. I think the outer grounds are fabulous. I think the stadium people are on the outside more, so I think the stadium is going to grow into a great locale, but it still has some growing pains.
It's kind of an interesting situation. What they had to do is they took one end of the stadium, like by the end zone, and so it's kind of a horseshoe. Stadiums are kind of oval. They kind of cut it in half and put in a big grandstand in the middle, so that they sort of closed it off. So the effect, though, the total effect, is that you've got a stadium within a stadium, like those Russian nesting dolls.
Well, my brother and I were partners, and Cliff Buckholz, and the tournament was run for about 5 or 6 years with my son, with Trey, and his wife Erica was one of our main salespeople. So it was a family thing, and we had different kids worked the tournament at different times, and it was a family business. It really was.
Hey, I'm Jan Michael Gamble, and you're Inside Tennis with the Cause.